I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Peace and safety to the hopefully elect, all the Akim, the sincere Akim, scattered across the four corners, pushing the Heavenly Father's word in sincerity and in truth. For those who don't know, Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is another edition to Drop the Mic, and this is Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5, and it reads, trust in the Lord with all thy heart. Not in Esau articles, not in your elders' doctrine, but in the Lord, and lean not to thine own understanding. Now, what I'm going to go into in this edition to Drop the Mic is 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 4 and 5, because the understanding that I was taught by the elders at Great Millstone, which is taught amongst the alphabet camps, the One West splinter camps, is that a man prophesying with his head covered is going off, is a sin. And a woman prophesying or praying with her head uncovered is also going off, and it's a sin. But I'm going to show you through the precepts that this is not referring to your literal head. And this is 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 4, and it reads, every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered, dishonoreth her head, for that is even all one, as if she were shaven. Now, I want to look up this word head, but before I do that, I want to read verse 3, which is the precept. And it reads, but I will have you know that the head of every man is Yahweh Shai. Now, this is not referring to your literal head. That's clear. Let's look up the word head here. As you can see, it says the head, both of man and often animals, since the loss of the head destroys life. This word is used in phrases relating to capital and extreme punishment. Now we know that's not referring to that. But here it says metaphorically, anything supreme. The head of every man is Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is supreme. And that's what it's referring to, not your literal head. Alright, it says chief, prominent, of person, master, Lord. Alright, and that's what it's referring to when it says the head of every woman is the man. We know Sarah referred to Abraham as Lord. Alright, of a husband in relation to his wife. And here it says of Yahweh Shai, the Lord of the husband, meaning the head of the man and of the church, because women are part of the church. Okay, so it says, but I will have you know that the head, not your literal head, this is metaphoric, of every man is Yahweh Shai, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Yahweh Shai is the power Yahweh. So now when you read verse 4, and it says every man praying or prophesying having his head covered, it's the same head as verse 3, as you can see on your screen, G2776. G2776. And it's referring to Yahweh Shai, every man praying or prophesying having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. Not literal head, meaning Yahweh Shai. Okay? So, meaning metaphorically covering. Alright? You don't supposed to cover Yahweh Shai. Remember, he's the mediator. He's the one between man and the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. Alright? So you go through Yahweh Shai. You don't cover that. Alright? And that's what that's referring to. Now, verse 5, but every woman that prayeth or prophesying with her head, as you can see, it's the same word, G2776. All right. And the woman head would be uh, of person, master, lord, of a husband in relation to his wife. That's the head that it's referring to. So it says, but every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head covered, because remember, Yahweh Shai is the head of the whole church. But the physical head of this woman is her husband. Okay? So she's supposed to cover him up and pray to the Lord and not to her husband. And that's what it's referring to. Dishonor of her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven. Now to prove that point, let me get a precept in 2 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 30. Because according to these guys' doctrine, if a man praying and prophesying having his literal head covered is a sin and going off, that means David was going off right here. Okay? So this is 2 Samuel chapter 15 and 30. And David went up by the ascent of Mount Olivet and wept as he went up and had his head covered. All right, this is referring to David's literal head. All right, like these guys say, I'm referring to what GMS, the alphabet camps, the One West Splinter camps, that if you have your literal head covered while you praying and prophesying, you're going off. So it says, and wept as he went up and had his head covered, and he went barefoot. And all the people that was with him covered every man his head. So everybody had their literal head covered. And they went up weeping as they went up. Verse 31. And one told David, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, O Lord, I pray thee. Now let me read that again. And David said, O Lord, I pray thee. Remember, having his head covered, and all the other men that was with King David had their head covered also. All right, so according to these guys' doctrine, if it's a sin or it's basically going off to have your head covered while praying and prophesying, that means King David was going off. So it says, and David said, O Lord, I pray thee, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. So here we have David, King David, a man of the Most High's heart. All right. Remember, he's coming back to deliver the house of David. All right. That's another name for the elect, the house of David. Okay. So David was sighing and crying. All right. Just like those men in Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 4 that received that mark of exemption. All right. Remember, they were sighing and crying. Okay. Just like King David was. Okay. And also praying to the Lord. All right. Having his head covered. All right. So basically that's the point. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.